Hi there. In this blog, I like to talk a little bit about denial. And I kind of tongue-in-cheek say denial is not a river in Egypt, which a lot of psychotherapists talk about. But it's not really a joke, but in a way, in such a serious subject, we can make a little fun about it. So here's really the idea, is that when someone receives a diagnosis of Alzheimer's, it can be devastating. And there's a story about Larry King, who used to be an interviewer on CNN. And he was interviewing Ron Reagan, President Reagan's son. And Ron Reagan said, if there was a test for Alzheimer's, and it was genetic, for example, which there are now tests since then that have been created, he said, I wouldn't want to know about it because there's nothing I can do. So there's one way to look at it. So it's understandable if somebody receives a diagnosis, both with the patient and the caregiver, they may not be thrilled about looking at what to do because there's not much in terms of outcome. But that's really what I'm trying to counter and address. So I say with all respect, there might be things that we can do that can bring actual hope to this situation. Because otherwise, certainly and understandably, there can be a disconnect between getting the news and taking action. And just like people talk about cancer and that type of thing, usually the earlier someone can take action, the more hopeful the outcome is. And that's certainly true in our research as well, is that the earlier end stage of diagnosis of Alzheimer's dementia we can act, probably the more hopeful the outcome can be. So just like there's support groups for Alzheimer's caregivers, we can say there can be support group for the patients as well. And I want to look a little bit at some of the factors that might prevent things from moving ahead. And again, I say this in all respect, but when you look at the medical model that's driven by pharmaceuticals, and again, as we've said in prior blogs, Dale Bredesen, who wrote a book called The End of Alzheimer's, it's a functional medicine doctor, he says, we're really asking of the drugs too much because there's so many factors which can feed into the Alzheimer's process that no one drug can actually approach it. But if you look at that golden bullet type of approach, you can see why there's an incentive for a profit-driven company to say, well, just wait on, we're doing research. We're going to do a lot of fairly sophisticated trials and see if over years we can develop protocols based on drugs that can do this. And when you just look at the numbers, pardon me, but I have to do this, is like, say there's 5 million people diagnosed in the United States with Alzheimer's, which there is. And there was some kind of miracle, quote unquote, drug. And someone could say, well, what would it be worth paying for something like this? Would it be worth, say, $100 a month to prevent Alzheimer's? And people would probably go, well, yeah, it would be. Multiply that by 5 million. And you're looking at a significant number, $500,000, dollars a month. You're looking at, besides that, you're actually looking at maybe 500 million, $6 billion a year of potential income. So this is a multi-billion-dollar opportunity, which any company will tell you is going to help recoup their investment of billions of dollars in research. So that's one thing that, from a profit point of view, just look at the numbers underneath something like this and think about it. Think about what is the potential if there was a cure. But unfortunately, there might be other factors that feed into Alzheimer's which are not pharmaceutically based. As any functional medicine doctors, a lot of doctors like Mark Hyman, David Perlmutter, Dale Bredesen, that are looking and saying, even with the intervention of changing diet, we can have a significant difference in the outcome of this disease. That's irrespective of drugs. What I'm saying with craniosacral therapy is we have a modality that might even be able to accelerate the process even more quickly. And what would it be like if we could combine craniosacral with other modalities, like changes in diet and exercise, as we talk about in preventing Alzheimer's in just 10 minutes a day, to really affect a positive outcome? So this doesn't necessarily have to be an all or nothing approach. We can look at medical intervention and, in an adjunctive way, combine this with other alternative treatments to create a more favorable outcome. So that's another way to look at this. So again, as we'll talk about in further blogs, We can talk about daily relaxation techniques to lower the stress level. That can be effective for people. People getting better sleep, getting better clarity through massage, acupuncture, craniosacral therapy. And I'm just really submitting that for people that are confronted in this situation, to look at the possibility of hope, because it really can't hurt. One of the things about this modality, craniosacral therapy, is it really can't hurt. Is if somebody were to undertake doing an intervention, whether they're doing it on their loved ones, the loved ones doing it on themselves, having other therapists come in and look for 3 months, look for 6 months, and start to see if there's any change. Then maybe if they can see some change that will share in further blogs that we're actually finding with people, that they would be encouraged to continue and do other things in terms of prevention and even reversal. So that's an idea I'd like to share in terms of denial, because if there is hope, there is maybe a possibility that hasn't been there before. So I want to encourage people to say, hey, be practical, look at all the different aspects, but see if our program might be something at low cost, easily something that can be implemented that can create a change. So thanks again for listening, and we'll see you again in the next blog.